And it wasn't even taking more action. Taking more action with a belief it's not going to work, it's not going to change anything. We got results in our head that made us feel certain as if it had already happened. True or false for you?
True.
Right? So give me an example so people know I'm not just making this crap up.
Well, I mean, just like when I had nothing, I already knew I was driving like Ferraris and Porsches and stuff because I always wanted those cars. I already knew I was going to have them. It was inevitable.
Right.
I inevitably, you know, that was just my inevitable outcome.
But how did you do that? Did you have a ritual? Did you think about it regularly? Was it one time you thought about it, or was it something you had an obsession towards?
I had an obsession towards it. I mean, I used to work at a video store, which was the last job I ever had in my life.
Thank God.
And I used to go to work almost every day, and I used to bring 2 magazines with me to read on my breaks. Entrepreneur magazine, just to read about business and everything else, to read about what other people are doing, look for role models. And I used to carry an auto trader with me. And I used to look at Porsches that were for sale.
Yeah.
And people always used to ask me, what are you doing with that Auto Trader magazine? I'm like, well, I'm just picking out the Porsche that I'm going to buy.
Right.
Which
probably got you a lot of crap.
I did. People made fun of me.
Sure.
I actually had a boss at that job tell me, you know, you really shouldn't do that to yourself, John, because it's very, very likely that that is never going to happen. That it's very likely that you're never going to have that car.
Yeah.
That's the kind of belief he was trying to put in my head. And I was like, no, you don't realize that it's inevitable that I will drive here sometime in the near future with that car when I'm not working for you and drop movies off for you to put back on the shelf. And that actually happened. And it was one of the most fulfilling days of my entire life. And the great thing was when I pulled up in this car, I was in my mid-20s, a car that most mid-20s...
What kind of car was it?
It was a Porsche 911 Turbo. It was a convertible and everything. It was a beautiful car. It was one I always dreamed of having. But, you know, for a few years, I always circled the ads of which ones I was going to buy. Well, when I finally got it and I pulled up at the store, you know, I had all these people, some people that were still working at this $7 an hour job were there years after I left. And I'll never forget this, even the boss and stuff, and the reaction of the people was like, wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Is that your dad's car? And all I said to them was, not exactly.
Good for
you. And I just smiled and just left. But it was, you know, it's the weirdest thing, but I just knew it was going to happen.
But you knew it because
I conditioned myself to
you did it over and over again.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was not a popular kid, but I was passionate and intense, and I'll never forget. Some particular girls gave me some crap, and a guy too. And I wrote in their journals or their annual yearbook at the end, I wrote, you know, someday, I said, you treated me like hell. Someday I'll be rich and famous, and you'll be an effing truck driver. And you'll be sitting there, I'll be with with this beautiful woman of my life, rich, and you'll be watching me on television thinking, you wish you would have treated me better. I actually wrote this shit in people's annuals because I went to a 10-year high school reunion when the people showed me this stuff,
great.
Right? But it's like, I burned the bridges, baby. I was like, this is how it's gonna be. So I'll give you a perfect example of this. You know, they did studies, many have been done at this element, where they want to say, how much does the mind affect performance? So take basketball. And I've worked with a lot of NBA players and turned them around, and one of the problems many of them have is they'll choke on the free throw line. You know, well, everybody knows in that case, if you normally shoot really well and now you're not, something's interfering, something's getting in front of your state, some uncertainty, right? Obviously. So they take a group and say, we're gonna make them better. How do you make somebody better who's got this mental block? So they take a group of guys and they're gonna do free throws, and they do one group where they just practice for 6 weeks. Totally intense practice, and I forget the number of free throws, but they gotta do this many free throws every day. Take a second group, and they have them not practice at all. Obvious. And they take a third group and they don't let them touch a basketball. All they do is have them practice in their mind, but the key is, it's not practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect, as corny as that sounds. So these guys see themselves making the shot every single time, conditioning their mind and body that it's perfect every time. They're not interrupted by a reality that would screw with them. So at the end of 6 weeks, they tally it up, and now they give them a test to see who has the highest free throw percentage, success. What do you guess it's going to be? Well, the obvious person says, obviously, it's not the guys that didn't practice, but which one is it, the mind, or is it the ones that actually practice?
I'm assuming the mind.
Yeah, you would assume it because it's true.
Right.
You intuitively know the truth, that practicing's not enough. It's getting yourself so certain so many times that now when you go to do it, there's no hesitancy and you execute.